Shabbat Shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of the great millstone who rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And I want to do a lesson going into First Corinthians, the 8th chapter. And this was based on a request, and a salakia to this brother that actually left this comment. This was left 2 days ago. And I've been meaning to actually address it, but I never had the time to. But now that I'm finally stationary, I have the time to do it. I said why not go into that chapter and edify. So that's what I'm gonna do in this lesson. And Lord willing, you brothers and you few sisters are edified. Now we know that the book of Corinthians, was one of the longest epistles, if not the longest epistle that the apostle had wrote, because he couldn't he couldn't be in multiple places at one time. He was constantly on a mission, doing the bidding of the Lord. All right. He was an apostle to the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles. So he had to set a lot of things in order. But he would always hear through the grapevine of certain things that was being done in certain churches that was completely out of order. So he had to address them through the form of epistles. And the Church of Corinth, he had to address them the longest. He had the most trouble with that particular church, because you had Jake in Corinth. This is right in the midst of Greece, and that Greek influence was pretty heavy back then. Jake was fresh out of that lifestyle, so a lot of those ways had to be um purged, if you will. All right. But he still acknowledged that, these were believing Israelites, all right, that had faith, but they still had, that mindset. So certain things had to be addressed and everything had to be set in order. So that's why he made these epistles. One of the things that he wanted to address was Jake, coming out of the world after having, you know, ate meat offered unto idols, eating in the temples, restaurants. And normally those restaurants, their meats would be sacrificed unto on a pagan altar. And those offerings would be split into three different parts. One would be offered on the altar to that particular pagan idol. The other would be sent home for you to eat, and a third of it would be sent to the priest. And if the priest didn't eat it, the priest would actually sell it to the temple. All right. So he had to basically deal with how you're going to have those in the faith whose faith is actually going to be stronger than other brothers. And then you have brothers that's fresh out of the world whose faith, is not as strong. So you got to be careful about the liberty that we actually have in a Mashiach Yahushai. And you're going to have certain men who certain things can be stumbling blocks to them. So that's why you got to be very careful on how you're being example unto those particular brothers, younger brothers in the faith. So that's basically what he's addressing in this chapter. So without further ado, I'm gonna just read the chapter. We're gonna hit a few precepts here and there just to break it down and get the understanding. So this is starting at the top, 1 Corinthians 8 verse 1. Now, as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth. Because at the end of the day, it's more about building each other up. And how, what other way than to build each other up by showing each other, that example of, the fruits of the spirit, love, charity, all right, showing goodwill towards one another. So if you love your brother, you also gonna care for them for their conscience sake as well. If you know a brother is dealing with weakness in the faith, you don't want to do things that's going to cause them to stumble and fall out of the faith. All right, the scriptures talk about preferring one another. We can't be selfish. All right, we have to be mindful that the little ones are just as important, if not even more important than yourself. That's just the type of mindset that you got to have. Yahweh Shai, he had that mindset. That's why he was a servant to his own disciples. Now, real quick, let me get a quick scripture, because you can have all the knowledge in the world, but that don't mean that you're not uh, in the spirit, and it also doesn't mean that you're righteous just because you have all the knowledge. The wicked scribes and Pharisees, they were knowledgeable in the law, but they were straight up hypocrites. All right, but we're dealing with you know charity. We're dealing with how to conduct ourselves among each other. All right, this is Philippians 2, and you see in the heading, be like Hamashiach. Right, that's our ultimate example. That's who that should Yahweh Shai should be your only role model. All right, Jake in the world, their role models is sell out, compromised niggas. No, Yahweh Shai should be your role model, man. He laid down a foundation. He did the job. He showed it how it's to be done, man. So I'm gonna start at the top, but the point is that verse 3 and 4. It says, if there be therefore any consolation, Salakia, consolation in the Mashiach, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any bowels and mercies, fulfill ye my joy, that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind, true unity. Let nothing be done through strife and vain glory. And we ain't got time for it. None of that. All right. Strife, vain glory, you making it about yourself. The ministry is all about your belly, your feelings, your emotions. All right. Your comfort. It says, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. All right. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Hamashiach Yahushai. So that's the point that I want to demonstrate, because this is pretty much what he's conveying in this particular chapter to the church of Corinth. All right. And basically the controversy, the issue was whether you can eat meat offered unto idols. All right. Because being in Yahweh Shai, being in his truth, yeah, we're not under the law, but under grace. But we can't abuse that. All right, yeah. All things are lawful, but not all things are beneficial. It's not expedient. So yeah, we have a certain liberty where we can do certain things, but you don't want to let those particular things become a stumbling block, something that causes to offend, whether you become offended or you cause an offense to another brother. All right. And it tells you that, I believe it's an Apocrypha, you know, whatever is evil for your soul, you know, prove what is evil for yourself and give not yourself over to it. All right. So we're just gonna deal with the sake of, meats offered unto idols. All right. Like, you always brothers go into it these so-called holidays that America celebrates. Jake keeps it traditionally annually every year. All right, and that's probably the only time you ever hear from your family in the world. You know, your cousins, your aunties, your uncles. You never really hear from them like that until it's time to crack out the fireworks, or get that Christmas gumbo ready, and bring the Christmas trees in. But normally you don't really hear from them. So Jake in the world, they keep it, and it's very important to them. You know, it's damn near like a commandment to you got to come, be around the family, and bring a gift and all this other crap. You know, but them being in their ignorance, not knowing, because our people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge, they have no idea that they're serving an idol. They're serving, it basically is paganism. All right. And we're not supposed to do after the works of the heathen. But our people, they've been in a Gentile state of mind. So just imagine just coming up out of that. You see? So let's continue to read it. And, we're going to hit some more scriptures, precepts. This is verse 2. It says, "And if any man think he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing yet as he ought to know." All right. In the previous chapter, it was dealing with marriage. He answered that question about marriage. Now he's going into this particular thing. So these things were coming up in the church. It says, "But if any man love the Most High, the same is known of him. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other God but one." All right, and who is that? Yahweh. All right, that's the one and only higher power. Okay, let's get some scriptures. All right, the Lord basically said, "There is no God with me." So we acknowledge him as the supreme being. So anything else outside of that is just a damn idol. Let's get Psalms 96 and 5. And it says, "For all the gods of the nations are idols, but the Lord," all right, Yahweh, "made the heavens." Okay. So the gods that these nations deem, they're just, you know, they're substances that were already created. The Lord put the elements together and made them. These nations, they're that vain. They worship the creation, right? And not the creator. Okay, worshiping Zeus, the sun god. Dionysus, the god of he was the god of banqueting, the god of grapes. Liquor, wine, yayan. You know, you had Diana of Ephesus. They also she was also known as Artemis, which is the Greek goddess of I believe she's the Greek goddess of hunting. She's the Greek goddess of chastity, marriage. And you had, cults that followed these deities, and they were teaching precepts following those deities. Like you had, certain doctrines that was seeping into the church, like people teaching to abstain from marriage. Well, those that were part of the cult of Artemis, because of the chastity that particular idol represented, they taught that in order to commemorate her, you had to, remain pure. So somehow, some way, that started to, seep into the church. So he had to warn Timothy, you're gonna have people that's gonna be moved away. They're gonna be, listening to these other people that are following these cults, and they're gonna try to bring that in the church. And their mind and conscience is already gonna be seared. They're gonna, depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits. And you had a lot of that happening. All right. But going back to the initial topic, you know, we know that everything created in this earth was made by the Heavenly Father. He's the only one to be worshipped. There is no other God with him. Let's get it. Let's get another one. I believe it's one in Isaiah 48. Isaiah 48, and that's not the scripture. Hold up. Try Isaiah 42. All right, so here's some precepts. This is Deuteronomy 32 and 39. Let me go there real quick. 32 and 39, it says, "See now that I, even I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand." All right, so he said there is no God with me. All right, and that's with a lowercase g. All right, and that's a given. All right, nothing on this earth is compatible with the one who made it. Okay, so that's all he's basically saying. Let me get let me go to the cross references to see the other precepts. And y'all already know these things. I just want to bring out some, extra pre's. It's pretty much like, you know, Apostle Paul, he's explaining, breaking things down to the church. But then when you actually break his epistles down, you go into other scriptures, it's like pulling precepts for him, you know, to bring more understanding on what he's trying to say in his epistles. But anyway, Deuteronomy 4 and 35, unto thee it was shewed that thou mightest know that the Lord Yahweh, he is the most high power. There is none else beside him. Isaiah 45 and 5, I am the Lord Yahweh, there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, thou, though thou hast not known me. All right. And that shows you right there, because even, because Christians, they try to put Yahweh Shai on the level of the Most High. Now, even though Yahweh Shai sits on his right hand, but Yahweh Shai, he still submits himself to the Most High. All right. He's a God, and guess what? Even Israel, we're gods, pursuant to Psalms 82 and 6, and even Yahushua quoted it in John the 10th chapter. It says that does it not say it in your law that ye are gods? But we're not the Most High. We come from the Most High. Okay, He's the Father of spirits. We come directly from Him. He's our source. There would be no us without Him, and he self exists. So as long as He exists, we're going to exist. So none of us are on that level. So there is no power beside him. Okay. And Isaiah 45:18. But thus saith the Lord that created the heavens, the most high powers himself that formed the earth and made it. He established it, he created it, not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Lord Yahweh, and there is none else. All right, and the Most High, he claims the credit, because even though it was actually his son Yahushai, when he was in the form of an angel, he was the first born creature, the first spirit created. And then you have the other spirits uh, uh, after him, which were the first fruits, and they helped to create the heavens and the earth. But the heavenly fathers who spoke it into existence, they all came together by him. Okay, so let's go back to 1 Corinthians 8, and it says, verse 5, it says, for though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, like amongst the other nations, they deem the stars, the moon, the sun, all right, the things that we see up above, they'll look at that, and they'll be dismayed at it. That's why it says that in Jeremiah the 10th chapter, be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. All right. Or in earth, worshiping a goat or a calf, worshiping a Molech. All right. Worshiping a fish, which is Dagon, the fish god. All right. Which is all vanity. Okay. It says, as there be gods many and lords many. All right. You got, lords. All right. A king is a lord. A, um, a priest is a lord. All right. And basically, if you rule over, if you are a ruler, you are a lord. Okay. It says, but to us there is but one God, the Father, or the Most High, the Ancient of Days, of whom are all things. Like I said, nothing would exist without him existing. He exists. All right. That's what Yahweh means, he is, because he self-exists. So all things come of him. It says, and we in him, and one Lord Yahweh Shai Mashiach, by whom are all things. Because once he created his son in turn created everything else. All right. And we by him. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. Now everybody know these things. For some with conscience of the idol unto this hour eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience being weak is defiled. All right. Now, like I said, Jake was fresh out of the world, coming into the faith, having heard the gospel, from whether it had been Paul himself or from Timothy or Sylvanus or whoever, Barnabas. But some of them, coming from out of the world, they were so used to, certain customs. Jake, especially like here in Babylon, you in America, you've been Americanized, so you're so used to certain customs and traditions here, right? So your mind hasn't altogether been, washed away. So when you come into this thing, you gotta, you know, grow, and you have to start to purify yourself. You start to, separate yourself from your old habits, and you basically clean yourself up. You be transformed, the renewing of your mind, becoming a new creature, you know. But sometimes, you come in and your conscience is still kind of weak. All right. So let's say a brother just coming out of the world, he's coming into the truth, but you already been in the faith, for years, and you already know what time it is. You don't keep none of these pagan holidays, but you might go to a function, or you might go to a family gathering during one of those days, and they might have some food over there. The brother that just came in, you happen to bring him with you, and all he see is your peoples or whoever invited you, and they got all the food laid out. They didn't, pray to Cesare or whoever they pray to, and they ate the shit, or they finna start handing out plates. The brother that just came in, He sees you eating it, he be like, okay, so I'm assuming it's all good then. So we can actually keep this day, and you're not even thinking about that. Like, oh shit. So that's basically what he's saying here, you know. So certain dudes, once they come in, they don't change, you know, their mindset. So certain things they would have to, stray away from until they're built up and able to, do things like that. All right. So it's let me see what this say in the NLT. It says, however, not all believers know this. Some are accustomed to thinking of idols as being real. They think that it's actually a real thing. Our people, they really became like the heathen, man. You see, it says, so when they eat food that has been offered to idols, they think of it as the worship of real gods, and their weak consciences are violated. See that? The NIV, it says, but not everyone possesses this knowledge. Some people are still so accustomed to idols that when they eat sacrificial food, they think of it as having been sacrificed to a god, and since their conscience is weak, it is defiled. You know, it says, but meat commendeth us not to the Most High, for neither if we eat are we better, neither if we eat. It's like neither if we eat not are we the worst. Or whether you eat it or not, it doesn't bring you closer or away from the Heavenly Father. Because at the end of the day, it's just meat. All right. The Lord, He made all things in the earth. Matter of fact, let me go to 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, which I believe he quoted from Deuteronomy. All right. All things in the earth are all in there, and all the fullness of it is of the Lord's. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 10 and 26 says, for the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. It's just meat at the end of the day. But to you it is, you understand that, but not every person is on that level. So continuing, it says, but take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. Because you have liberty, but you don't want to let, because we can do all things, all things are lawful, but it's not beneficial if it's going to cause your brother to become offended. Okay. And what he's addressing here in this chapter, he's also addressing in this chapter as well. 2 chapters over, 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. All right, let's read that. Let's start at verse 20. And I'm actually reading it in the NLT. Let's just read it like that. 1 Corinthians 10, uh, I'll start at 18. It says, think about the people of Israel. Weren't they united by eating the sacrifices at the altar? What am I trying to say? Am I saying that food offered to idols has some significance, or that idols are real gods? No, not at all. I'm saying that these sacrifices are offered to demons, not to the Most High. And I don't want you to participate with demons. Okay? These are other nations, they pray and basically put unclean spirits upon them, when they conduct these little rituals and banquets, you know. But at least when we go to these places, and we go to the meat market and buy this meat, you don't know what deity that they praying to when they package that meat up. You don't know what deity is being sacrificed to. So that's why when we do eat it, we send them up. All right, send it up, man, and you know who you praying to. It says you cannot drink from the cup of the Lord and from the cup of demons. And the churches, this is what they're known for, the Catholic Church and the Christian Church. You know, when they keep Easter, when they keep Hallelujah night, they try to merge, you know, the festivities of this world with you know, the sacred, you know, holy things of the Lord, and you can't do that. All right, you cannot drink from the cup of the Lord and from the cup of demons. Two, you cannot eat at the Lord's table and the table of demons too. And that's why, you know, really, you're not to eat with unbelievers. You know, be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship do righteousness have with unrighteousness? All right, the temple of the Lord with you know, Balaam or you know, Baal. There's, you either gonna serve the one and hate the other. All right, it says, what do we dare to rouse the Lord's jealousy? Do you think we are stronger than he is? You say, I am allowed to do anything, you know, meaning, you know, all things are lawful, but not everything is good for you. Not all things are expedient. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. All right. So yeah, we have the liberty to do certain things. We can eat, you can eat meat. You can go to the restaurant. You can even, if you on that level, hey, you know, you go to a family gathering or whatever, they having dinner, so-called Thanksgiving or whatever. Hey, get you a plate, pray in the name of the Lord. Don't, you know, because sometimes they'll try to put you on the spot. That's why I try to stay away from them, because they'll try to put you on the spot. They know you into their Bible, so they'll be like, hey, you send up a prayer, you know, and they'll try to gather their hands, and they got all type of swine and all, you know, you already know how it go, man. The ham with the pineapples on the shit, you know, with the glaze all over it, chitlins, like you ain't finna pray over that. So sometimes you just stay away. But if you just happen to come by and you able to bypass that, you know, just slide up in there, get you a plate, say hey to everybody, then hey. But you know, to send them prayers up, and it's ready to be received with Thanksgiving. All right. It says verse 24. Now this is the key right here. You know, because I read this in Philippians, the second chapter, about, you know, not being selfish, not looking upon your own, the things of yourself, but on the things of others. All right, esteeming others better than yourself. All right, I think I one of the other, yep, NIV and ESV and NLT, it says basically, don't be selfish, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain deceit, rather in humility value others above yourselves. All right, so going right here, it says, don't be concerned for your own good, but for the good of others. All right, because we are a brotherhood. You are your brother's keeper, man. All right, you love your neighbor as yourself. It says, so you may eat any meat that is sold in the marketplace without raising questions of conscience. All right, and that's to you. All right, you go to them which I don't eat at those spots no more, but I used to eat at them little Chinese food spots. You know, get egg rolls and some chow mein or whatever. But you know, you don't even trust what they put in their food anymore. But you know, they have a big ass Buddha statue right at the entrance when you walk into the restaurant. You know that's who they pray to. That's you know, they commemorating all that food to Buddha, that big pot belly bald headed demon. Okay, so but you know, you just want the food. All right, you like how it tastes, it's good, you know, and you pray to the Lord and you just eat the food. You know what it is. But he, you know, them in particular, they eat that because that's to they God. All right, but we eat it without question, man. It's just at the end of the day, the Lord made we have a dietary law. He told us what meats we can eat and you know what's clean and what's unclean. He also told us what animals are sufficient for sacrifice and what isn't a good sacrifice, and that was for the priest. Okay, so continuing on, it says, "For the earth is the Lord's and everything in it." If someone who isn't a believer asks you home for dinner, accept the invitation if you want to. You know, your relatives or whoever call you over, hey, come get some of this food. We made plenty. Hey, man, do what you do. But if you weaker, you feel like it's gonna be a stumbling block to you, where you feel like you're gonna be in that spirit of that particular day, don't even go. All right. And then if you are a brother and you are responsible for brothers up under you, you be that example and you show discipline and be an example and you don't do it. All right, so that that brother can have a clear conscience. It says, "Eat whatsoever is offered to you without raising questions of conscience. But suppose someone tells you this meat was offered to an idol, don't eat it out of consideration for the conscience of the one who told you. It might not be a matter of conscience for you, but it is for the other person. But why should my freedom be limited by what someone else thinks? If I can thank the Most High for the food and enjoy it, why should I be condemned for eating it? So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of the Most High." And that's the point. But don't give offense to Jews or Gentiles or the church of the Most High. I too try to please everyone in doing it's like everyone in everything I do. I don't just do what is best for me, I do what is best for others so that many may be saved. All right. So you want all brothers to you don't want them to fail in patience, you know, dealing with uh a temptation that they can fall victim to, you know. You want brothers to overcome everything. You want all brothers to make it. So, this issue right here was a big thing because that was big in amongst these nations, offering meat offerings to their gods. All right. So going back to verse 9, it says, "But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. For if any man see thee which has knowledge sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And through the knowledge shall the weak brother perish for whom Hamashiach died?" Yeah, you don't want him to perish. All right. "But when you sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, you sin against Hamashiach." And remember, Yahusha already said, if you offend one of these little ones, it is better that you hang a millstone about your neck and be cast into the sea. So you don't want to do nothing that's going to cause brothers to slip. All right. Some brothers might have a weakness about women. So you being an example, you don't want to be that stumbling block where you bringing women around all the time around that particular brother. That brother might not. You might need to keep that away from him. You know, things of that nature. That whole strip club thing that Jake be doing. That could be a stumbling block. Plus, that gives off a worldly secular image. Jake coming out of the world thinking that that's fly. They was already making it rain in the club. Now they coming to the truth, and now they see you up in there. You know. So hey, next thing you know, Jake, hey, let's hit. They hitting the strip club every weekend. Just because they saw that it was all right because they saw their leader, a person who's supposed to be an example, all right, a shepherd. They seeing that what he's doing, and they'll emulate you, man. So you have a higher responsibility, man. Whatsoever you do unto one of these little ones, you do unto Yahushai. All right. Now, there's nothing wrong. Like it's not a sin if you go to them places. It's not a sin if you deal with these women, but you got to deal accordingly. Deal within the confines of the scriptures, and don't let it be a stumbling block. Don't let it consume you. Even Paul said, "I will not be brought under the power of any." He brought himself unto subjection. It says, "Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend." All right. So we can't let this liberty that we have, you know, be a stumbling block to other brothers. Alcohol, you might have a high tolerance, but that doesn't mean, younger brothers do. And they'll try to, keep up with you. And next thing you know, they out of it. You don't want to do that, man. And now that brother, he's that liquor demon is on him, them spirits, and you introduce that to him. So yeah, man, that's pretty much the lesson, man. And this was something that he had to stress to this particular church. All right, dealing with meat offered unto idols, um, fellowshipping with unbelievers, order in the church. Because you had women that was trying to usurp authority and speaking in the church, trying to teach men. You had effeminate men. You had men with long hair, all type of stuff. Men had a problem with you know, uh, 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 donation and charity. Taking care of the apostle while he did the work. All type of stuff, man. All right. So, Lord willing, I hope this was edifying. This to this particular brother here, and I was like, you know what? Why not? This give me a topic. Actually, I can actually do a lesson. I tried to do a lesson. I actually did a lesson earlier, and that was, man, it was a good video, but Satan had to intervene because the audio never recorded, so it was just a whole video with basically silence. So I was pretty upset that didn't go through. But either way, it didn't go out in vain. But Lord willing, this goes up and this has no audio issues, and it should be good, man. So hey, call Loyum La Yahabashim Yahshai, man. Hey, Yahabashim Yahshai Brakatham. And to the next lesson, Shalom.